Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't make it today. He's in surgery.
Okay. Well, why don't we then, if it's all right with you guys, to get started, at least start going through the CRC meeting, and we'll have those guys join when they can.
Perfect.
So we'll call it to order here at 1:09, and I don't believe we have a need for an executive session for this entity today.
No.
So we would go on and ask for a review and approval of the meeting minutes of December 16th. Has everybody had a chance to look through those? I didn't have any questions.
This is Bill. I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Do we have a second?
Second, Mary Ann.
Okay, thanks, Marianne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? All right, that's carried. So we'll move on to our, are there any changes, Doreen, Mike, to the agenda?
No. Nope.
Then let's move on to our finance report.
Okay, I have two checks today, number 806 and 851, that total $2,366. $616 is for insurance and $1,750 for our 2020 audit. I don't have anything else to report. If anybody's got any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Doreen, for that. I don't think we need to have a formal vote on that, right? Just
Yeah.
accepting the report.
Yeah, just accept the.
Yeah, okay. So we'll move on to our action items. And first up, we have the audit presentation. Mark Waterstram's joining us. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Good. How's everybody?
Yeah, very good. Thanks.
Good to hear. We're going to, I'm a novice at sharing my screen, so Mike gave me some pointers and we're going to try to do that. Hopefully you've all had the opportunity to read through the information that has gone out. Let's see.
Mark, I'm going to go ahead and, because of the challenges we've had, I'm going to go ahead and try and share it from my end. I didn't have
okay.
a chance to get it set up for you, so.
Okay, you're good.
See, make sure I have. Bear with me. Sorry, everybody. I have to get it open here.
I can't hear anybody. Are you still on, Mike?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to open the audit presentation for Mark. My apologies.
I can get on Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, you could co-work.
All right, so you would have to give me permission to do it?
Yeah, but that might be easier at this point.
Okay.
Make a presenter. Okay, so try and go up to share, Mark, and then you should be able to select which file you want to share.
All right, let's see. All right, everybody see that okay?
We are
Seeing the Capital County Capital or Gates County Capital Resource Corporation 2020 audit.
Looks like it's your file explorer, not the actual presentation right now.
Okay, let me move it over to my other screen. How's that?
There we go.
All right, very good. So, all right, so I'm not going to go through this whole presentation because it's rather lengthy. So we'll go through the PowerPoint portion of it. Let's see. So The contents of the file would be the presentation, the formal required communication letter, a management letter, and the financial statements. And for the presentation, what we'll go over is in an outline format, these particular items. This is our annual meeting to go over the financial results of the audit. Give you the opportunity to ask any questions, give me the opportunity to let you know what we found. Pending your acceptance of the financials, we'll move forward with issuing an unqualified opinion on the financials. In this particular audit, we do have to attach part of the Paris report to it. So as soon as that is done, that is usually when we issue the audit. There weren't any items of internal control matters that we need to bring to your attention. Required communications. Auditors are required to communicate certain items with boards in conjunction with the audit. A few of the items here, no changes in policies. We do look at any kind of estimates involved in the audits. We didn't have any difficulties in performing our duties, no disagreements with management, and no journal entries resulted from the audit process. Let's see, from an overview of the financial results, you can see at this point there's 2 notes outstanding as of the end of the year. There is one bond issue that's disclosed in the notes with the college at $6.2 million, but the operating revenue of a little over 1,000, expenses of 3,000, so a net change of a deficit of 1.8 thousand. Net position, which is basically your assets less the liabilities as of the end of the year, is around 73,000. From a net position standpoint, this just shows the fluctuations since there really hasn't been a lot of new activities in the loan area. The interest is on the downward trend, but net position has been hovering around the 75,000 range for several years now. This shows the revenue, but it also shows the expenses. The expenses are historically just the loan management fees as well as the audit fees. So, and then the income is traditionally just the interest on the loans. And as I noted earlier, no internal control matters to be brought to the attention of the board. Any questions regarding CRC? Okay. Would anybody like me to go over the financials in detail, or is the summary form okay with you?
Summary form is okay with me. Bill?
Summary's good for me.
Janice?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill, I'm sorry, did you have a question, Bill?
No, I did not. This was
Okay.
summary.
Okay.
Okay, and then the only other thing I'd noted on this is our peer review letter. We get audited by outside auditors every 3 years as far as our documentation and our adherence to our standards. And this is our last audit was performed in October, so this is relatively fresh off the press. All right, so that's all I have on this particular entity.
Great, thank you, Mark. I particularly like seeing that it's a clean opinion and that there were no difficulties working with staff. I know that internally creates some additional work on Doreen's plate and the other staff members. So thanks to Doreen and staff, and for Mark for pulling this all together.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item of our agenda, which is the loan rate adjustment. And Mike, I think this is probably the rate differential for the automatic payments discussion.
Yes, that's correct. It's the same discussion that we had last month for EDC and Horizon entities. So we are just looking to approve a motion to increase our loan rates. We don't do a whole lot, but we do have a few loans out of the CRC we would increase our loan rates to by 1%. And then if the borrower signs up for automatic payments each month, we would reduce that by 1%. So that would make any CRC loan
Hang on.
80% of the current prime, the prime rate at that time, plus 1%.
Yeah, okay.
And
Okay, I'm gonna,
with automatic payments, it would be
I don't have
80%
any
prime.
audio signal.
Okay. Yeah, no, thanks, Mike. That makes
Is
sense.
anybody
And in
talking?
concert with what we did in the other two entities last time, I think that makes sense. Is there someone that would make a motion to
Yeah.
approve that?
This Bill
No,
Holgate, I'll
I
make
got
the motion.
speakers.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody for a second?
Second it. Mary
All
Ann.
right. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. So we'll move on to the last item here on the agenda for this entity today, and it's the emergency signers. I don't know, Mike, if that's you that can, or Steve's on now, I guess, too.
Yep, I am on, but I can go through it, but looks like Steve's on. You're muted, Steve, but if you want to take that one, go for it.
Okay, I'm, let's see what we can get here. So emergency signers, the reason we're looking to make a change, and is there feedback coming off this?
Yeah.
So they're hearing me through yours.
I don't have any audio through, and
No,
my
we
microphone's
can
turned
hear you,
off.
Mike.
Can you hear me?
We are hearing you.
Hold on one second, guys. Hold on.
So they're getting double feedback from yours through mine. So they're hearing it twice.
Oh.
Any better? Actually,
It is.
okay, yeah, we have that part fixed. Okay, so the emergency, I love technology in this network. The emergency signer. So Mike Sepola is actually going to be trying to enjoy Cuca Lake a little bit more at the starting at the end of March. He's going to be officially retiring. We'll be working.
Starting to lose you a bit, Steve.
Mike will be working together to figure out process in which maybe to have him help us out on an ongoing basis, more of a consulting type role. But in the meantime, as emergency signer, that means we got to find another emergency signer. So the recommendation was going to be to have Mike LaPerry be able to be that second emergency signer.
This Bill, that sounds very logical to me, and I'll make the motion that Mike be the signer, emergency signer.
And so that'll be Mike and Steve then as the two authorized emergency signers. That's correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So Bill made the motion. I'll second that. Any other questions on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Just to say, Mike Sepola, thank you for everything you've done to contribute to the organization. You know, as we're hearing about this now, a lot of great contributions in our compliance and the video streaming and everything else that you've been a major part of. Thank you for all you've done for us.
So he's got himself muted. They thanked you, Mike, or Ryan Haley's thanked you for what you contributed.
Don't forget that
thanks.
I said something profound. Tell him
Yeah.
that.
All right, and we just got some feedback that now the public can actually hear too. So we're
All right, great. Yeah, so apologies to anybody trying to live stream in for the interruption and the delay getting started with our technical issues. It has been recorded also, so that's something that could be shared at a later time too for the first part of the meeting. And with that, it brings us to the end of our agenda for the CRC Corporation. So if I could have a motion to adjourn. From someone.
Mhm.
So I'll make the motion.
Oh, yeah.
All
I
right.
made the, I just didn't unmute.
Oh, okay. Sounds like we had a
Second.
motion in a second then, Mary Ann, and so
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we're adjourned from the CRC. We'll call the Horizon EDC meeting to order here at 1:25. And introduction of guests, we have our board members and staff and Mark Waterstram with Bonadeo and Russ from Harris Beach with us for this meeting as well. Our first item on the agenda, well, I'll ask first, do we have an executive session needed for this entity? Don't think so.
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, okay. So we'll move on then to the review and approval of the minutes from the February meeting. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, thanks. And a second? All right.
Janice,
great,
second.
thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? Okay, no, that's carried. Are there any changes in the agenda today? All right, so is Doreen with us for the finance report?
Nope. She's still down with Empire Access. I'm on her computer.
All right, so we'll come back to that at the end and just check and see if she's there to share any of that with us. But for now, we will move on to Mark. If you could take us through our audit presentation for this entity, that would be great.
Okay, let's see. Can you see my report on the screen?
No, but you're smiling, so that's good.
Okay. All right, let me go back up to the share screen. Let's see. Okay, how's that look?
Yep, looks good.
All right. Sounds good. All right, so this is the presentation for Finger Lakes Horizon Economic Development Corporation, set up similar to the prior presentation. Let's see, so once again, this is our meeting with the board. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We do plan on issuing an unqualified or unmodified opinion on this pending the approval. Nothing from the Paris report has to be attached to this one, so this report can be going whenever. From a required communication standpoint, the audit went fine. These are just the required some of the required communications. No policy changes, no significant estimates. Although we do look at estimates that are involved, particularly as it resolves with the allowance for doubtful accounts. No significant difficulties performing the audits, no disagreement with management. We did have a few journal entries with this one. These are mostly accrual entries. The first one being to recognize some grant receivable relating to the DRI grant. These would have been just reported as expenses on your internals with very little revenue, and this just balances out what's due to you. The other just adjusts for some of the allowances relating to some of the loan accounts. From an overview of a financial statement presentation, the big jump here in the operating revenue and expenses relates to the grants that you've been involved in. The DRI grant, the Main Street grant, the CDBG grant, so that bolstered the revenues. I did notice an error there I have in 2019, should be non-operating revenue of $237,000 rather than an expense. What happened in 2019, was when the Small Cities Fund had terminated and the loan portfolio moved over into this particular entity. So unrestricted net position as of the end of the year was 1.8 million. Net position, as you can see, it's been increasing steadily over the last few years. I believe you have 3 more payments on the Empire pipeline, which brings in $127,000 a year. So that I believe the last payment is in 2023. So that's really been attributing to your increase in your balance. Operating revenues and expenses. Historically, the revenues have stayed ahead, mostly because of the pipeline. And as you can see, as I mentioned prior, the big jump in the revenue is just the grant money that's starting to flow through for all the downtown revitalization initiatives that you've become involved with. In no matters of internal control relating to this particular entity that needs to be brought to the attention of the board. And are there any questions?
I don't have any. I'd just like to add thank you to Mark for pulling this together, and then the EDC staff for working at the same comments as before, the unqualified opinion, and that the staff was a pleasure to work with and there were no difficulties pulling information together. I think speaks well for everybody involved. And so thanks again, Mark and staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will just add on to that. I missed the first one there. That is normal. It's a pretty impressive showing when Mark and his team come in early in the year, and to watch Doreen jump to action and run around and get all the information needed in an extremely short period of time. It's where she shines bright.
I will second that one.
She did, by the way, coach me, Ryan. So I know I can do the finance report if needed.
Yeah, why don't we hop back to that? It looks like there's 3 checks there. If you want to give the numbers for that.
There's actually we have to add one. We're adding check 311, which was $96,000 to DeForest Campbell. That was a loan. So in total, we have checks 310 through 313 that total $100,591.05.
Okay. Thank you for that. Steve, does anyone have any questions on those particular items? All right, thanks. We'll accept that as the financial report then for the HEDC entity. We'll move on our agenda here to the emergency signers. I assume this will be the same ask as with the CRC, asking for Mike LaPerry and Steve Griffin to be authorized as the emergency signers, replacing Mike Seppala, who had been previously in that role because of his upcoming retirement. Could we have someone make a motion for that resolution?
This Bill, I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone for a second?
Janice seconds.
Great, thanks, Janice. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's carried then. Do you guys have anything else to add to this agenda before we adjourn?
No.
All right, then if someone would make a motion to adjourn, that would be great.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, in a second. Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we'll move on to the Finger Lakes Economic Development Center. Our 3rd meeting will be called to order here at 1:33. And do we have an executive session to start with for this meeting?
We do, but why don't we could
Move
let
it.
Mark go
Yeah.
first, if that's okay, and then we can let him not have to hang around because I have one item to go over for executive anyways.
Yeah, sure. Actually, why don't we skip ahead to the audit presentation now then and have Mark be able to wrap that up so he's not held with us, and then we'll go back to the start of the agenda, the other items.
Sounds good.
The floor is yours, Mark.
All right, let me pull my next presentation up. There we go. All right, so this one is a little bit more involved, but we still keep it in a summarized form. So you get down to, again, this is another one where we do have to attach part of the Paris report to the finalization of the financial statements. But after acceptance, we can move ahead with issuing an unmodified or clean opinion. And from a required communication standpoint, the audit went smooth. I do have some extra comments in the back about some of the hurdles we had to go over, not particularly me, but I know Doreen and Mike had to invest a lot of time to getting us to where we were. But all in all, no disagreements, and overall, I thought it all went well. These are the audit entries. Now, actually, again, these are really the same ones that we do every year. They relate to converting the cash basis to the accrual basis. The two biggest ones that we do relate to capitalizing certain capital expenses that are expensed during the year and recording the depreciation. The NYSERS adjustment relates to the New York State retirement system. There were some, you really don't have no control over that one, but there were some pretty interesting fluctuations in their employer retirement system this year. Overview of a financial position here. Assets as of the end of the year, 8.1 million. Now, the one thing I did want to mention to you is with the financial statements for the IDA, they also include Finger Lakes Horizon Economic Development Company because that is a blended component unit. So some of the numbers you look at, they look a little bit different than you used to because it does combine the two. But we break them out later in the presentation. Let's see. Well, during 2020, there's around 731,000 in notes issued. Since we won't be spending a lot of time on the financial statements themselves, I thought I would put a little bit more detail as to what the balance sheet and the income statement look like when you look at it. Cash at the end of the year, 4.5 million. Capital notes receivable, 2.3 million. So total assets of 8.2 million. The next group with the deferred outflows, pension-related liabilities, deferred liabilities, those all relate to the employer retirement system, which are just required entries. So let's see, operating revenue. Actually, the new one there is the grant revenue that would have flown through the Finger Lakes Horizon Economic Development Company. And we'll get involved into the detail of the funds as we go through these. So from an operating standpoint, from the operating fund, I know with the pandemic did have some impact on the rental business as you lost a few tenants. However, you did have some good contracts signed in the prior year. So the decrease in the rent had only gone, was about 3%. There was also an increase in the bond service fees of 116,000. So actually, it turned out to be a pretty good year from a net standpoint. When you look at the bottom comparison to the revenues and expenses, the bump in the prior year of 2019 relates to really the small cities termination of that particular fund, as some leasehold improvements came over to the operating fund, as well as the remaining loan portfolio going over to Horizon. From a revolving loans fund standpoint, that was relatively stable. There was one note issued during the year for 75,000. However, several of the businesses had elected to take up your offer on deferring some loan payments, so that slowed down some of the payments. So really the net outstanding balance is increased by 35,000 with the revenues exceeding the expenses. And again, that is predominantly a loan fund where you see the interest. The gain fund is there's not much to talk about there. You do have an outstanding loan. You collect interest, and that's about all there is to say about that particular fund. They're making their payments. How's that? From the Horizon Economic Development Fund, we talked about that separately in that particular meeting. The net position increases by the Empire Pipeline money, which has about 3 more years left on it. The revenue bump this year relates to some of the grants that you've been involved with the downtown revitalization in conjunction with the village. Some of the future factors, again, I think overall, I think there's a lot of optimism going forward. However, I think all optimism has to be somewhat tempered by the existence of the COVID-19 pandemic, what it's done so far and how long it will last. The last comment there about the impact, the unknown to the future is really involved. That's in the financial statements, it's in the MD&A, it's really in everything that goes out of our office. It's hard to predict what's going to happen, but you've seen to weather the storm through 2019 and are looking in good shape for 2020. As I mentioned before, there really isn't management considerations regarding internal controls. We do believe the controls we tested were in place and adhered to, even though much of 2020 was done in a remote environment, as well as rotating staff in and out. Not an easy thing to do. From an accounting standpoint, there was some further challenges that happened during this unique period was completing a general ledger upgrade, changing the loan management software. Mike, I think you did that twice. Revising the chart of accounts and accounting for the several deferral of note payments. So there were a lot of challenges along the way from an accounting standpoint that the staff had to deal with. And so that was especially appreciative that Doreen and everybody was ready for us when we came in. And again, we were on site for part of the audit. We did more of it remote than we usually do, but that's an environment I think we're all kind of adapting to and getting involved. So all in all, I was pleased with the performance, and I think you should too. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments, or if you would like me to go into any detail of any particular item within the financial statements themselves. I'm more than willing to.
The one thing I'm, hold on, sorry.
We're getting the feedback, Mike.
The one thing just on that gain fund, for some of the newer board members wondering what that might be. That's an acronym standing for Grow Agricultural Industry Now. It was a regional grant application based off of our ag loan, the success of our ag fund. And so they did one regionally wide. And so the way it works is it went to the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council, the actual grant did, and then as each county got a certain allocation, and as we got loan applicants interested in that industry, we then drew down from that, some from the GFL, and then the payments, as the company made payments, it actually just goes back into our fund. So just a quick insight for what that gain fund is.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, any other questions for Mark on the financial statements? Mark, overall, it seems very positive. There are a lot of moving pieces and parts, but no concerns over internal controls or anything that way.
Nope, I think you weathered the storm very well. It was a lot of choppy waters, I would say, but I think you did well. So
Okay, Mark. Thank you very much for your time today and presenting all three of the agencies to us.
you're welcome. And is there anything I need to do with my screen before I sign off, Mike? Do I got to unshare or anything like that?
Nope, I'll take care of it. So you should be good to go.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your meeting.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's see.
All right, so we'll go back in order then on the presentation. Item 2 is executive session, and it sounds like we do have an item for executive session, so we'll wait here until you guys confirm that we are no longer streaming.
Yeah, we have to go into executive for the discussion of potential acquisition or sale of real estate.
Yeah, and there needs to be a motion, Ryan, to go into executive session.
Oh, yeah, all right. Anybody like to make that motion to go in for the sale of and for purchase of real estate?
Yes, I'll make the motion for that purpose.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody seconds?
Second, Janice.
Thank you, Janice. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. You guys just let us know when we are in.
He's doing so now. Hold on a second.
We're good.
We're good?
Yep.
And we're good to go.
Steve, do you want me to stop the recording in WebEx or let that run since that's internal?
No, you can stop that.